Henry noticed it for the first time on a Tuesday evening. His daughter was sitting on the kitchen floor, playing with a pair of old wooden spoons, but she was not playing the way other children played. She was tapping them against the tiles in a rhythm. A perfect rhythm. The radio was on in the background, some classical piece he did not recognize, and her small hands were moving in time with the music. Every beat, every pause, every shift in tempo. She was only 5 years old. He stood in the doorway and watched her for a long time. His wife was working the night shift at the hospital, and the apartment was quiet except for the radio and the soft tap of those wooden spoons. His daughter did not notice him standing there. She was lost in the music. Her eyes focused on something he could not see. Henry had never been a man who believed in signs. He worked at a packaging plant on the edge of town, loading boxes onto trucks for 10 hours a day. His hands were rough. His back ached most nights. He had dropped out of school when he was 16 to help support his family, and he had been working ever since. Dreams were things other people had. People with money. People with time. People who did not have to count every dollar just to make rent. But watching his daughter that night, something stirred inside him, something he could not explain. Her name was Lily, and she was not like other children. She was quiet, too quiet, some people said. She did not make friends easily. She preferred to sit alone during recess, drawing shapes in the dirt with a stick. Her teachers said she had trouble paying attention. They said she was always distracted, always somewhere else in her mind. They used words like unfocused and behind and struggling. Henry hated those words. He hated the way people looked at his daughter like she was broken, like she was less than. He knew there was something inside her, something bright and burning. But he did not know how to reach it. He did not know how to bring it out. The music on the radio changed, a faster piece now, full of energy and movement. And Lily changed with it. Her hands moved quicker. The spoons tapped faster. Her whole body seemed to come alive, swaying gently as she played along with sounds she had never been taught to understand. Henry felt a chill run down his spine. He did not say anything that night. He just watched. And when the music ended, Lily put down the spoons and went back to playing with her toys, as if nothing had happened. As if she had not just done something remarkable. For weeks after that, Henry paid attention. He noticed things he had never noticed before. The way Lily would freeze when music played in a store, the way her fingers would tap on the dinner table when a song came on television, the way she hummed melodies she had only heard once, perfectly, without missing a single note. He started to believe that maybe, just maybe, his daughter had a gift. But what could he do about it? Piano lessons cost money. Music teachers cost money. Instruments cost money. Everything cost money. And money was the one thing Henry did not have. He was already working overtime just to keep the lights on. His wife picked up extra shifts whenever she could. They were barely surviving as it was. Still, the thought would not leave him alone. It followed him to work. It kept him awake at night. He would lie in bed and stare at the ceiling, thinking about his daughter and her wooden spoons and the way she had moved to the music like it was part of her soul. One Saturday morning, Henry drove to the thrift store on the other side of town. He told his wife he was looking for a new jacket. He did not tell her the real reason. The store smelled like dust and old clothes. He walked through aisles of chipped dishes and worn-out shoes, past racks of faded dresses and shelves of forgotten books, and then, in the back corner, he saw it. A keyboard, old and scratched, with a few keys that stuck, and a power cord that was frayed at the edges. The price tag said $15. Henry stood there for a long time, staring at it. $15 was a lot. $15 was 3 gallons of milk. $15 was half a tank of gas. $15 was the difference between making it to the end of the month and falling short. But he could not walk away. He bought the keyboard and carried it to his truck. He sat in the parking lot for 10 minutes, wondering if he had made a mistake, wondering if he was being foolish, wondering if he was putting his own hopes onto a child who might not want them. When he got home, Lily was sitting on the couch, watching cartoons. He set the keyboard down in the corner of the living room without saying a word. She looked at it, then looked at him, then looked back at the television. She did not touch it. Days passed. Then weeks. The keyboard sat in the corner, gathering dust. Lily walked past it every day on her way to her room. She never stopped. She never reached out. She never even asked about it. Henry did not understand. He had been so sure, so certain. But maybe he had been wrong. Maybe the wooden spoons had meant nothing. Maybe his daughter was just a normal girl, and he had invented something that was not there. His wife noticed the keyboard one evening and asked where it came from. "Thrift store," Henry said. Thought maybe Lily would like it. His wife looked at the keyboard, then looked at Lily, who was drawing pictures at the kitchen table. "She has not touched it once," his wife said. "I know. Maybe she is not interested. Maybe." But Henry could not let it go. He had seen something in his daughter that night on the kitchen floor. He had felt it. And he refused to believe it had been nothing. So he started asking, gently at first, then more directly. "Why do you not try the keyboard?" he would ask. Lily would shrug. "I do not know how." "You do not have to know how. Just press the keys. See what happens." She would shake her head and go back to whatever she was doing. It became a routine. Every evening, after dinner, Henry would ask. And every evening, Lily would refuse. His wife told him to stop pushing. The neighbors complained about the noise whenever Lily did reluctantly press a few keys. Her teacher sent home another note about her lack of focus in class, but Henry kept asking. He did not know why. He just knew that he could not give up. Not on this. Not on her. He had spent his whole life giving up. Giving up on school. Giving up on his dreams. Giving up on the idea that life could be anything more than work and bills and exhaustion. He had accepted his place in the world a long time ago, but he would not accept it for his daughter, not without a fight. "Just try," he told her one night, kneeling down so he could look into her eyes. "Just once, for me, please." Lily looked at him, really looked at him. And in her eyes, he saw something he had not expected: fear. She was not ignoring the keyboard because she did not care. She was ignoring it because she was afraid. Afraid of trying. Afraid of failing. Afraid of wanting something and not being good enough to have it. Henry understood that fear. He had lived with it his whole life. He pulled her into a hug and held her tight. "It is okay to be scared," he whispered. "But you will never know what you can do if you never try." That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Henry heard something. A sound coming from the living room. Soft, hesitant, one note, then another. He crept down the hallway and peeked around the corner. Lily was sitting at the keyboard, her small fingers resting on the keys. She pressed one, then another, and slowly, note by note, a melody began to form. A melody he recognized, a song from the radio, from weeks ago, played back perfectly from memory. Henry leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. He had not been wrong. After that first night, everything changed. Lily did not become a different person overnight. She was still quiet. She still struggled in school. She still sat alone at recess while other children played together. But now, when she came home, she had somewhere to go, something to do, something that was hers. She played the keyboard every day. At first, it was just a few minutes here and there. She would sit down, press some keys, and walk away. But soon, a few minutes turned into an hour, then 2 hours, then 3. Her mother would have to call her name 5 times just to get her to come to dinner. Henry watched all of this with a quiet sense of wonder. He did not say much. He did not want to scare her away from the thing she had finally found. So he just watched, and listened, and let her discover it on her own. The old keyboard from the thrift store was not a good instrument. Some of the keys stuck. The sound was tinny and cheap. But Lily did not seem to care. She played it like it was the finest piano in the world. She taught herself everything. Henry could not afford lessons. He could not afford a teacher or a music school or any of the things that other children had. But Lily found a way. She watched videos on the old family computer, studying the way other people's fingers moved across the keys. She went to the library after school and checked out books about music theory. Books with diagrams and exercises that she practiced over and over again. Henry did not understand any of it. He had never learned to read music. He did not know the difference between a major chord and a minor chord. But he knew that what his daughter was doing was not normal. Children her age did not sit for hours teaching themselves complicated pieces. They did not memorize songs after hearing them just once. They did not play with the kind of focus and intensity that Lily played with. By the time she was 7, she had outgrown the keyboard. Her fingers moved faster than the old instrument could keep up. Notes would blur together. Keys would stick at the wrong moment, but they could not afford anything better. So she made do with what she had. Her mother started to come around. At first, she had thought Henry was being foolish, pushing their daughter towards something she did not want. But now, watching Lily play, she understood. There was something there, something real, something that could not be ignored. "She is good," her mother said one night, after Lily had gone to bed. "Really good." "I know," Henry said. "What do we do about it?" He did not have an answer. He was still just a man who worked at a packaging plant. He still had rough hands and an aching back. He still counted every dollar. He did not know how to give his daughter the future she deserved, but he knew he had to try. 2 more years passed. Lily was 9 now, and she had changed in ways that surprised everyone. She was still quiet at school. She still did not have many friends. But there was a confidence in her that had not been there before, a sense of purpose. When other children talked about what they wanted to be when they grew up, Lily did not say anything. She did not need to. She already knew. One afternoon, Henry came home from work and found a flyer on the kitchen table. Lily's school was holding a talent show. Students were invited to sign up and perform in front of the whole school. There would be parents in the audience, teachers, other students, everyone. Henry looked at the flyer for a long time. He knew what he had to do, and he knew his daughter would hate him for it. The next morning, before Lily woke up, he drove to the school and signed her up. He wrote her name on the list and walked away before he could change his mind. His hands were shaking the whole time. 3 days later, Lily found out. She came home from school with fire in her eyes. Henry had never seen her so angry. She threw her backpack on the floor and stood in front of him, her small hands balled into fists. "You signed me up," she said. "You signed me up without asking me." Henry did not look away. "I did." "Why?" "Because you would never have signed up yourself." "Because I do not want to play in front of people," Lily said. Her voice was rising now, louder than he had ever heard it. "I do not want everyone staring at me. I do not want them to laugh at me. No one is going to laugh at you. You do not know that." Henry took a deep breath. He had known this moment would come. He had prepared for it. But standing here now, facing his daughter's anger and fear, he felt his own doubt creeping in. What if he was wrong? What if he was pushing her too hard? What if he was doing more harm than good? But then he remembered the kitchen floor, the wooden spoons, the way she had moved to the music like it was part of her soul. He remembered the first night she sat at the keyboard, playing a song she had only heard once, perfectly, from memory. He remembered every hour she had spent teaching herself, every book she had checked out from the library, every video she had watched over and over again. She had a gift. A real gift. And gifts like that did not come along every day. They did not come along every lifetime. If she hid it away, if she never let anyone see it, it would wither and die. And she would spend the rest of her life wondering what could have been. Henry kneeled down so he could look into her eyes. "I know you are scared," he said. "I know you do not want to do this. But Lily, you have something special. Something most people will never have. And if you keep it locked inside, no one will ever know, including you." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "What if I am not good enough? You are good enough. What if I mess up? Then you mess up, and you try again. What if everyone thinks I am weird?" Henry smiled sadly. He knew that fear. He had lived with it his whole life. The fear of being different. The fear of standing out. The fear of wanting something and being told you did not deserve it. Some people will think you are weird, he said. Some people will not understand. But that is not your problem. Your problem is not letting fear stop you from becoming who you are supposed to be. Lily did not say anything. She just stood there, tears running down her cheeks, looking at her father like he was asking her to jump off a cliff. And in a way, he was. The talent show was in 2 weeks. For the first week, Lily refused to practice. She went to school. She came home. She did her homework. But she did not touch the keyboard. Not once. Henry did not push her. He had done enough pushing. Now, it was her turn to decide. On the 8th night, he was sitting in the living room, reading the newspaper, when he heard it. The sound of the keyboard. Soft at first, then louder. A piece he had never heard before, something complicated and beautiful, full of emotion and movement. He walked to the doorway and watched her play. Her eyes were closed. Her fingers moved across the keys like they had a mind of their own. The music filled the room, filled the house, filled every empty space with something bright and alive. When she finished, she looked up at him. "I will do it," she said. "But if I fail, it is your fault." Henry smiled. "I can live with that." The night before the talent show, Lily could not sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, running through the piece in her mind over and over again. Every note, every pause, every place where she might stumble. Her father came into her room just before midnight. He sat on the edge of her bed and took her hand. "Whatever happens tomorrow," he said, "I am proud of you. Not because of how you play, because of who you are." Lily squeezed his hand. She still did not believe she was ready. She still did not believe she was good enough. But for the first time in her life, she was willing to find out. And that, she was beginning to understand, was the only way anything ever changed. The morning of the talent show, Lily woke up with a knot in her stomach. She had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw faces. Hundreds of faces, all staring at her, waiting for her to fail. She got dressed slowly. She ate breakfast slowly. She brushed her teeth slowly. Everything felt like it was happening underwater. Her mother kept asking if she was okay. Her father kept telling her everything would be fine. But their voices sounded far away, like they were coming from another room. The talent show was at 7 in the evening. Lily had to be at school by 6 to check in with the other performers. That gave her the whole day to think about it, the whole day to worry, the whole day to imagine everything that could go wrong. She thought about faking sick. She thought about running away. She thought about telling her father that she had changed her mind and she was not going to do it. But every time she opened her mouth to say the words, something stopped her. A small voice in the back of her head. A voice that sounded a lot like her father. "You will never know what you can do if you never try." At 5 o'clock, her mother helped her get ready. She put on a simple blue dress that they had bought at a second-hand store. Her mother brushed her hair and tied it back with a ribbon. When Lily looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. She looked older, more serious, like someone who was about to do something important. Her father drove her to the school. The parking lot was already filling up with cars. Parents and grandparents and siblings, all coming to watch the show. Lily felt her stomach twist tighter with every car that pulled in. "You do not have to do this," her father said quietly. "If you really do not want to, we can turn around right now." Lily looked at him. For a moment, she almost said yes. She almost told him to take her home. But then she thought about all the hours she had spent at that old keyboard. All the songs she had learned, all the nights she had stayed up late, practicing until her fingers ached. She had worked so hard. She had come so far. And now, at the last moment, she was going to run away? No, she was not a quitter. She was scared, but she was not a quitter. "I am okay," she said. "Let us go." The backstage area was a small room next to the auditorium. It was crowded with kids of all ages, some in costumes, some carrying props, all of them buzzing with nervous energy. Lily found a corner and sat down by herself. She did not know any of the other performers. She did not try to talk to them. She just sat and waited. Her hands folded in her lap, her heart beating so hard she could feel it in her throat. One by one, names were called. Kids went out to perform and came back a few minutes later. Some smiling, some relieved, some disappointed. A boy did a magic trick. A group of girls danced to a pop song. A pair of twins told jokes that made the audience laugh. Everyone seemed to have friends and family cheering for them. Everyone seemed to belong. Lily had never felt more alone in her life. The minutes passed like hours. She watched the clock on the wall, counting down the time until her name would be called. 15 more acts. Then 10. Then 5. A teacher came backstage with a clipboard. "Lily, you are up next." Lily stood up. Her legs felt like they were made of water. She followed the teacher down a narrow hallway toward the side of the stage. She could hear the audience on the other side of the curtain, hundreds of people, talking, laughing, waiting. The act before her finished. A burst of applause. Then silence. "And now," the announcer said, "please welcome our next performer." The teacher gave her a gentle push. "Go on. You will be great." Lily walked out onto the stage. The lights were brighter than she had expected. For a moment, she could not see anything. Just white light. Everywhere. Blinding her. Then her eyes adjusted, and she saw them. The audience. Row after row of faces, all looking at her. Parents she did not know. Teachers she recognized from the hallways. And there, in the 5th row, her mother and father. Her father gave her a small nod. That was all, just a nod. But somehow, it was enough. The piano was waiting for her at the center of the stage. It was not a keyboard like the one she had at home. It was a real piano. An old upright that the school used for choir concerts. Lily had never played on a real piano before. She had only ever touched those sticky, stubborn keys on her thrift store keyboard. She walked toward it slowly. Each step felt like a mile. The audience was silent now. Watching. Waiting. She sat down on the bench. It creaked under her weight. She placed her hands on the keys. They were smooth. Cold. Different from what she was used to. She pressed one key, gently, just to feel it. The note rang out clear and pure, filling the auditorium. This was real. This was happening. Lily closed her eyes. She took a deep breath. And she tried to remember why she was here. Not for the audience. Not for the teachers. Not even for her father. Though she loved him more than she could say. She was here for herself. For the girl who had sat on the kitchen floor with wooden spoons, tapping along to music she did not understand. For the girl who had been too scared to touch the keyboard for weeks. For the girl who had taught herself, night after night, because something inside her needed to play. She was here to find out who she really was. Lily opened her eyes. She looked down at the keys, and she began to play. The piece she had chosen was not a simple one. It was not a children's song or a pop tune or anything the audience might recognize. It was a classical piece, something she had found in a library book months ago. A piece so difficult that most adults could not play it. A piece that required speed and precision and emotion, all at once. She had practiced it 1,000 times. She knew every note by heart. But playing it at home, alone in her living room, was one thing. Playing it here, in front of hundreds of strangers, was something else entirely. The first notes were soft, hesitant. Her fingers trembled slightly as they moved across the keys. She could feel the audience watching her, judging her, waiting for her to make a mistake. But then something happened. The music took over. It was like a door opening inside her mind. All the fear, all the doubt, all the noise of the world around her, it all faded away. There was nothing left but the music, the rise and fall of the melody, the rhythm that lived in her bones, the story that the notes were telling, a story of sadness and hope and everything in between. Her fingers moved faster. The music grew louder. She was not thinking anymore. She was not worrying about the audience or the judges, or whether she was good enough. She was just playing the way she played at home, alone, when no one was watching. Except now, everyone was watching, and they could not look away. The piece built and built, climbing higher, growing more intense. Lily's small hands flew across the keys with a speed and precision that seemed impossible for a child her age. Notes cascaded over each other like water rushing down a hill. The piano sang under her touch, filling the auditorium with sound. In the audience, people began to lean forward. Conversations stopped. Phones were put away. Even the restless children in the back rows went quiet. Something was happening on that stage. Something no one had expected. Lily did not see any of it. Her eyes were closed again. She was lost in the music. Lost in a world where she finally made sense. A world where being different was not a curse, but a gift. The final passage approached. Her heart was pounding. Her fingers were aching. But she did not stop. She could not stop. Not now. Not when she was so close. She played the last notes with everything she had. The final chord rang out across the auditorium, hanging in the air like a held breath. And then there was silence. Complete, absolute silence. Lily opened her eyes. She looked out at the audience, and she waited. The silence lasted for what felt like forever. Lily sat frozen at the piano, her hands still resting on the keys, afraid to move, afraid to breathe. She could not read the faces in the audience. She did not know if the silence meant they had loved it or hated it. She did not know if she had just made the biggest mistake of her life. Then someone started clapping. It was just one person at first, a single pair of hands, somewhere near the back of the auditorium. Then another. Then another. The sound spread like a wave, rolling forward through the rows, growing louder with every second. And then people started standing up. One by one, they rose from their seats. Parents, teachers, children, strangers who had come to watch their own kids perform and had not expected to see anything like this. They stood, and they clapped, and some of them wiped tears from their eyes. Lily did not understand what was happening. She had never seen a standing ovation before. She did not even know that was what it was called. All she knew was that hundreds of people were on their feet, looking at her, applauding her, and the sound was so loud it seemed to shake the walls. She looked out into the audience and found her father. He was standing too. His hands were pressed together in front of his chest, not clapping, just holding. And there were tears running down his face. Real tears, streaming down the cheeks of a man who never cried. Lily felt something break open inside her. All the fear, all the doubt, all the years of feeling like she did not belong, like she was not good enough, like there was something wrong with her. It all cracked apart and fell away. And what was left was something new. Something she had never felt before. She felt seen. The applause went on and on. Lily did not know what to do. She stood up from the bench, gave a small, awkward bow, and walked off the stage on shaking legs. The moment she was backstage, she burst into tears. A teacher rushed over to her. "Are you okay? What is wrong?" Lily could not explain. She was not sad. She was not hurt. She was just overwhelmed. Everything she had been holding inside for so long was finally coming out, and she did not know how to stop it. Her parents found her a few minutes later. Her mother wrapped her arms around her and held her tight. Her father knelt down and looked into her eyes. "You did it," he said. "You really did it." "I was so scared," Lily whispered. "I know. But you did it anyway." That is what courage is. The rest of the talent show passed in a blur. Other kids performed. Prizes were given out. Lily did not win first place. That went to a group of older students who did a choreographed dance routine. She did not even place in the top 3. But it did not matter. What happened after the show was worth more than any trophy. As the audience was filing out, a woman approached Lily's parents. She was older, maybe in her 60s, with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun and sharp eyes behind thin glasses. She walked with purpose, like someone who was used to being in charge. "Excuse me," she said. "Are you the parents of the girl who played the piano?" Henry nodded. "Yes. That is our daughter, Lily." The woman looked at Lily for a long moment. Her expression was hard to read, not unfriendly, but intense, like she was trying to solve a puzzle. "My name is Dr. Helen Park," she said. "I am a professor at the Eastman School of Music. I was here tonight to watch my grandson perform in the Magic Act." Henry blinked. He had heard of Eastman. It was one of the best music schools in the country, maybe in the world. What was a professor from a place like that doing at an elementary school talent show in their small town? "Your daughter," Dr. Park continued, "played Chopin. Ballade No. 1 in G minor. Do you know what that piece is?" Henry shook his head. "I do not know much about classical music. It is one of the most difficult pieces in the piano repertoire. Conservatory students struggle with it. Professional pianists spend years perfecting it." She paused. "Your daughter is 9 years old. She will be 10 next month," Henry said, not sure what else to say. Dr. Park turned to Lily. "Who taught you to play like that?" Lily looked down at her shoes. "Nobody." "Nobody? You have a teacher, yes? A private instructor?" "No, I taught myself." Dr. Park stared at her. Then she looked at Henry, then at Lily's mother, then back at Lily. Her expression had changed. The intensity was still there, but now there was something else too, something like disbelief. "That is not possible," she said quietly. "It is true," Henry said. "We could not afford lessons. She learned from library books and videos on the internet. She practiced every day on an old keyboard. I bought at a thrift store for $15. Dr. Park was silent for a long moment. The auditorium had nearly emptied now. The janitor was starting to stack chairs. But no one in their little group moved. "I have been teaching music for over 30 years," Dr. Park finally said. "I have worked with some of the most talented young musicians in the world. And I have never, in all my years, I heard a child play like that without formal training." Lily did not know what to say. She did not feel special. She did not feel like a genius or a prodigy, or whatever word adults used for kids who were different. She just felt like herself, a quiet girl who loved music. Dr. Park reached into her purse and pulled out a small card. She handed it to Henry. "This is my contact information. I want you to call me. There are programs, scholarships, opportunities for children like your daughter. She should not be learning from library books. She should be studying with the best teachers in the world." Henry looked at the card in his hand. It felt heavier than it should have, like it was made of gold instead of paper. "I do not know if we can afford," he started. "We will find a way," Dr. Park said firmly. "Talent like this does not come along often. It would be a crime to let it go to waste." She turned to Lily one more time. "You have a gift, young lady. A rare and precious gift. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. Not your teachers. Not your classmates. Not even yourself." Then she walked away, disappearing into the parking lot, leaving Lily and her parents standing alone in the empty auditorium. For a long time, nobody spoke. Henry just stood there, holding the little white card, staring at it like it might vanish if he looked away. Lily's mother was the first to break the silence. "Did that really just happen?" Henry nodded slowly. "A professor from Eastman, one of the best music schools in the country. She wants to help our daughter." "I think so," Henry said again. Lily tugged on her father's sleeve. He looked down at her. "Does this mean I am good?" she asked. "Really good? Not just pretend good?" Henry knelt down so he was at her level. He took her small hands in his rough, calloused ones. "Lily, you were never pretend good. You were always real. You were always special. The only difference now is that other people are starting to see it too." Lily thought about that for a moment. Then she smiled. It was a small smile, shy and uncertain, but it was real. "Can we get ice cream?" she asked. Her father laughed. A real laugh. The kind that comes from somewhere deep inside. The kind he had not made in a very long time. "Yeah," he said. "I think we can get ice cream." They walked out of the auditorium together, the three of them, into the cool night air. Above them, the stars were out. Thousands of them, scattered across the sky like notes on a page of music. Lily looked up at them and felt something she had never felt before. Hope. Not the small, fragile hope she had carried around her whole life. Not the hope that said maybe things would get better someday. This was something bigger. Something stronger. A hope that said the world was wide and full of possibilities. And maybe, just maybe, she had a place in it after all. She squeezed her father's hand. He squeezed back. And somewhere in the distance, a new song was waiting to be played. Henry made the call the next morning. His hands were shaking when he dialed the number on the little white card. Part of him expected it to be a mistake. Part of him expected to hear a stranger's voice on the other end, telling him he had the wrong number, that none of it had been real. But it was real. Dr. Park answered on the second ring. She remembered them. She remembered Lily. And she meant every word she had said the night before. Within a week, everything started moving. Dr. Park connected them with a foundation that provided scholarships for gifted young musicians from low-income families. There were applications to fill out, forms to sign, interviews to attend. It was overwhelming. A world that Henry and his wife had never been part of, full of words and processes they did not understand. But they pushed through, for Lily, for her future. 2 months later, the letter arrived. Lily had been accepted into a prestigious summer program for young pianists. Full scholarship, room and board included. 6 weeks of intensive training with some of the best teachers in the country. When Henry read the letter out loud at the dinner table, Lily did not react at first. She just sat there, staring at her plate, like she had not heard him. "Lily," her mother said, "did you hear what your father said?" Lily looked up. Her eyes were wet. "I heard," she whispered. "I just do not believe it." But it was true. All of it. That summer, Lily left home for the first time in her life. Henry drove her to the program himself, a 7-hour trip through winding roads and small towns. They did not talk much during the drive. They did not need to. Everything that needed to be said had already been said 100 times before. When they arrived at the campus, Lily stood in the parking lot and looked around at the beautiful old buildings, the manicured lawns, the other students walking by with instrument cases in their hands. She looked like she had landed on another planet. "You belong here," Henry told her. "Do not let anyone make you feel like you do not." Lily hugged him tight. Then she picked up her bag and walked toward her new life. The next 6 weeks were the hardest and the best of her life. She studied with teachers who pushed her harder than she had ever been pushed. She practiced for hours every day, learning techniques she had never known existed. She met other young musicians, kids from all over the country, some of them kind, and some of them competitive, and all of them talented in ways that made her question everything she thought she knew about herself. There were nights when she cried herself to sleep, nights when she missed her parents so much it felt like a physical pain in her chest, nights when she wondered if she was good enough, if she deserved to be there, if she had fooled everyone into thinking she was something she was not. But she kept going. She kept practicing. She kept learning. And slowly, something began to change. The teachers noticed it first. The way she absorbed information like a sponge. The way she improved faster than anyone they had ever seen. The way she played with an emotional depth that seemed impossible for someone her age. By the end of the summer, Lily was not the same girl who had arrived in that parking lot. She was stronger, more confident, more certain of who she was and what she wanted. When Henry came to pick her up, she ran across the lawn and threw herself into his arms. "I did it," she said. "I really did it." "I never doubted you," he replied. "Not for a second." The years that followed were a blur of growth and change. Lily continued her studies, working with private teachers that the foundation helped pay for. She entered competitions and won some and lost some, and learned from all of them. She performed at recitals and concerts, each one a little bigger than the last. She still struggled sometimes. She still had days when the old doubts crept back in, whispering that she was not good enough, that she did not belong. But now she knew how to fight them. She knew that fear was not a reason to stop. It was a reason to keep going. When Lily was 16, she received the news that would change her life forever. She had been accepted to one of the most prestigious music conservatories in the world. Full scholarship, a chance to study with masters, to perform on stages she had only dreamed of, to become the musician she had always known she could be. The night before she left for the conservatory, her father took her for a walk. They went to the park near their apartment, the same park where she used to play as a child. They sat on a bench and watched the sun set behind the trees. "I want to tell you something," Henry said. "Something I have never told anyone." Lily looked at him. He seemed older than she remembered. His hair was grayer. His face was more lined, but his eyes were the same, kind and steady and full of love. "When I was your age," he said, "I wanted to be a musician too." Lily blinked. "You did?" "I played the guitar. Taught myself. Just like you. I was not as good as you are. Not even close. But I loved it. I loved it more than anything." "What happened?" Henry was quiet for a moment. "Life happened. My father got sick. I had to drop out of school and get a job. There was no time for music. No money for lessons. No room for dreams." Lily felt tears welling up in her eyes. All these years, and she had never known. "I made peace with it a long time ago," Henry continued. "I built a good life. I have your mother. I have you. I have nothing to complain about." He turned to face her. "But when I saw you on that kitchen floor, tapping those wooden spoons, I knew. I knew you had the gift I never got to use, and I promised myself that I would do everything in my power to make sure you did not end up like me, that you would have the chance I never had." Lily was crying now. She could not help it. "I pushed you," Henry said. "Maybe too hard sometimes. I know you were scared. I know you did not always understand why I would not let you give up. But I need you to know why. It was never about me living through you. It was about you living, really living, becoming everything you were meant to be." Lily threw her arms around her father and held him tight. "Thank you," she whispered, "for believing in me, for pushing me." "You did the hard part," Henry said. "All I did was buy a keyboard." They both laughed through their tears. 7 years later, Lily stood backstage at one of the most famous concert halls in the world. She was 23 years old. She had performed on stages across the globe. She had won awards and accolades and the respect of musicians she had admired her whole life. But tonight was different. Tonight, she was performing in front of a sold-out crowd in the city where she grew up. And somewhere in that crowd, in the front row, her father was waiting. She walked out onto the stage. The lights were blinding, just like they had been at that school talent show so many years ago. The audience was quiet, expectant, waiting. She sat down at the grand piano. She placed her hands on the keys, and just like she had done 1,000 times before, she closed her eyes and began to play. The music filled the hall. It rose and fell, whispered and roared, told stories without words. It was everything she had learned, everything she had felt, everything she had become. It was her gift, finally given to the world. When the last note faded, there was silence. Then the audience erupted. A standing ovation, thunderous applause, cheers that seemed to shake the walls. Lily stood and bowed. She looked out into the crowd and found her father. He was standing. His hands were pressed together in front of his chest, just like they had been at the talent show. And there were tears running down his face. She smiled at him. He smiled back. And in that moment, they both knew. It had all been worth it. Every sacrifice, every struggle, every leap of faith. He had pushed her to play, and she had become exactly who she was meant to be.